In order to honor everybody's time, I'm going to go ahead and get started. It is just after 6 o'clock. I appreciate everybody coming this evening. This is the first meeting of this kind we've ever had in Sioux City Community Schools. So welcome. I wasn't sure how many people to expect. We could have had 5 people here or 500. So I appreciate all of you being here. This is an informational session for you as parents. We just want to be able to share some information with you about some things we've been doing within the Sioux City Community School District and some things that are happening within the state of Iowa. So there will be some things that you will be hearing over the course of the next year, and yes, I'm struggling to getting this attached to my pocket, that I want to make you aware of so that as you start to hear some new words over the next year, they don't come as a big surprise to you. And you know what they mean as they start to roll out. So with that being said, again, welcome this evening. I'm hoping this isn't the last meeting of this kind that we have, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. So for parents who weren't able to be here, we are recording this session, so I'm not going to be able to move around a whole lot. And we have a lot of people in here, so there's not room for me to move around a whole lot. In addition to that, we are going to use the recording to do some voiceovers with the recording and the PowerPoint for our families who speak languages other than English, and we will post those on the Learning Supports website on the district homepage as soon as we're able to get those translated for folks. So just wanted to make everybody aware of that. Because this is information only, I would ask that you save any general questions until the end so we're able to get the information recorded, and then we can talk about any questions that you may have. There are note cards on the table in case you want to write your questions down as they come to you. And if you have just some student-specific questions, I would ask that you write those down and leave me your contact information, and I will contact you directly about any student-specific questions. I don't want to answer those tonight because we have student confidentiality things and all sorts of things about that, so I will contact you directly about any student-specific questions. A little bit about myself. My name's Kim Neal. I'm the Director of Learning Supports for the Sioux City Community Schools. This is my 5th year in this position. Worked in the field of special education for 28 years as a teacher, an AEA consultant, and as administrator in both Nebraska and Iowa. I grew up locally, got married, had kids, decided, we need to move away for a while. So we left the Sioux City area and then decided, Sioux City's home. So we came back. And so happy to call Sioux City home and continue to raise my family here. Now, we're here to talk about special education services and what we do for your students. So the special education services in Sioux City are described in a state-required document called the Special Education Service Delivery Plan. It's been a required document since 2009. We recently revisited ours, and tonight what I want to do is share updates with you to that plan. And as I mentioned before, some updates that will be coming from the Department of Ed. All of these updates are positive for both students and families. So I just want you to sit back, relax, and hear about all the work that's been done. Okay? First, I just want to revisit the mission of the Sioux City Community School District. The mission is, of course, that the Sioux City Community School District is to educate students to believe in their talents and skills, achieve academic excellence, and succeed in reaching their potential. And I just want to make it clear that this is the mission for all of the students in the Sioux City Community School District. Not just those going on to college, not just those going into the competitive workforce, but every student in the community schools. Everything that we do revolves around a strategic plan that we have in place in the Sioux City Community Schools. It's called Focus 2022. It has 5 goal areas. They're represented in a circle, and as you walk into every school building in the district, you should see something that looks like that. The goals happen to be, the first one has to do with providing relevant, rigorous, and innovative academics. The second one, providing safe, healthy, and supportive learning environments. The third one, attract and support highly effective teachers, leaders, and staff. The fourth one, practice effective, efficient, and sustainable business practices. And the fifth one is to strengthen school, family, and community engagement. We're working on the fifth one here tonight. The first parent meeting, like I said, hopefully of more to come. But as we worked through the service delivery plan, and we looked through some information, and we really thought about what is it that we want to do, we looked at these 5 goals, and we felt that the service delivery plan and the work we did as we took a look at that hit all 5 goals. And I'll touch on how we did that as I continue through my discussion with you this evening. So the district developed service plan, as I mentioned before, is a state requirement. It has an acronym, because in education we love acronyms. We speak in the alphabet. I could probably speak an entire sentence in an alphabet if you gave me a little bit of time. But it is the DDSDP. It is available on our district website. If you really want to take a look. That's not showing up on your screen, but it's showing up on mine. And I don't know why. Interesting. It is available on the district website. But I'm going to talk through most of it with you anyway. There are 5 required questions that the district developed service delivery plan requires that we answer. And these are the 5 questions. The first one is, what process was used to develop the service delivery plan? Second one, how will service be organized and provided to eligible individuals? Those are your students that receive IEP services. The third one is, how will caseloads of special education teachers be determined and regularly monitored? The fourth one, what procedures will a special education teacher use to resolve caseload concerns? And the last one, which is kind of a loaded question because it's more than one question, how will the delivery system for eligible individuals meet the targets identified in the state's performance plan and the LEA determination as assigned by the state? And what will be used to evaluate the effectiveness of the delivery system for eligible individuals? Those are the 5 questions we had to answer. But we went through a lot of information to answer those 5 questions. So we formed a committee and started looking at a lot of information. We looked at our student achievement data. We looked at transition data. And for those of you who have high school students, this means, what does it look like when our students get ready to graduate? What does it look like as we get ready to have those discussions about, are they ready to graduate? What does it look like after they graduate? All kinds of different things as we are getting ready for students to prepare for what comes after high school. Our graduation rate, our identification rate, what percentage of our students are actually identified for special education services? And then this last one, which really impacts some of the things that we're trying to do, is our domicile and attending building. That means, what's the difference between the school where your child sleeps at night? So do you sleep more in the Bryant area, but your child attends a different neighborhood school? Okay, so domicile is where they sleep, attending is where they go to school. So we took a look at the difference in those 2 things. Do we have a lot of students who sleep in one neighborhood, but we have to send them to school in another one for one reason or another? Okay? So we looked at a lot of information. And from that, we learned a few things. We learned that we are transporting a whole bunch of kids that if we got a little bit more efficient and really took a look at where we were doing things, we might be able to keep some kids in their neighborhood schools. More so than we do now. Can we do it overnight? No, we can't. But we think we can do more so than what we're doing now. So it's going to take some time, but we're going to talk through that in a little bit. We're transporting students to a different school because there's not an appropriate program in their neighborhood school. Again, can we get better at that? Yep, I think we can. But again, we can't do it overnight. And then the Department of Ed did this thing with teacher licensure. So some of you may not know, but your teachers have to have a certain licensure in order to be able to instruct your students in certain areas. So for us, that's really, really important. For you, you want to know that your child is safe when they go to school and that they're going to be well cared for by their teachers. For us, we have to know that they're appropriately licensed to work with your child as well. So a few years ago, about 4 years ago now, the Department of Ed came in and said that any teacher who administers alternate assessment to students with significant disabilities must have a Strategist 2 ID license, which means nothing to most of you. But it meant a whole lot to this district and some of our teachers because we had to require that many of our teachers went back to school and added an additional endorsement. That required a lot of time and money on their part, and it caused a great deal of heartache in hiring for our part. Because there are not many Strat 2 teachers out there, and it's only offered in graduate school. Okay? So that's one thing that you guys aren't necessarily aware of, but it's important for us because we have to make sure our teachers are appropriately licensed to provide the right services to your student. But that was a huge impact and it was hard. It was hard on everybody. But the way our service plan was written, it impacted at least 30 teachers in this district. And it was a hardship. We got it done, but it was a hardship. So we wanted to make sure that we were aligning everything to make sure we were getting the needs met of your students legally, because we had to have the teachers licensed. And now we want to come back and make sure we've got everybody on the same page with what needs to happen, how students are being served with teachers with the right licensure. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to focus on service, not program. We'll talk more about that in just a minute, and we need to match the teacher licensure to the needs of the students in the neighborhood school as much as possible. So if you've been around Sioux City a long time, some of these words are going to sound familiar. So our previous plan used things like, we have a resource room, we have foundations 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have ASD, we have Compass Academy, we have Life Academy, we have community preschool, large group integrated preschool, small group integrated preschool, discrete trial. You're right, we have all those things. We continue to have all those services. What we want to move to, however, is what service is your student receiving? What we found was, by having all those different things, they became places, not services. So when we started having conversations, it became more of a, well, they need to go to Foundations 2. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's that room down there. Well, what service do they need? We need to focus on the service, not the location. The other issue that some of these terminologies caused us, we are the only district in the state of Iowa that uses terms like Foundations 1, 2, 3, and 4. When we post for a job, Nobody knows what that means. So they don't apply for them. Because nobody else understands it. And when there's a special education teacher shortage anyway, we need all the applicants we can get. And when nobody understands our language, we don't get them. So we needed to make a bit of a shift in order to be able to get better descriptions out there about what we need so we can get the best pool of applicants to work with your students. So what we want to do is focus on the fact that your students are general education students first and foremost, and then what service comes with that. So, students can receive general education with consultation. Maybe your student gets speech services. General education student, they get consultation with a speech language provider. That's a service. Maybe your student, who is a general education student first and foremost, needs some consultation model from a special education teacher and get some accommodations in the general education classroom. That's a service. Maybe your student, who again, first and foremost is a general education student, needs some special education support, but maybe that comes through a para in the general education classroom, or special education teachers in the classroom because the class is co-taught. Could look a number of ways. Maybe your student needs special education teacher to instruct a class not in the general education setting, but they're still working on general education curriculum. Still a general education student first. That would be general education with direct special education support outside the classroom. Maybe your student needs all of those in the course of a day. They're in the general education classroom some of the time. Maybe for a short amount of time, they're out. Need some direct special education support outside the general education classroom. Maybe they have some additional support services. That's a continuum. Kids move in and out of that continuum all day long. And then we have regular early childhood programs within the district because our early childhood programs, our teachers are dually certified. They're general education teachers and special education teachers. They hold both. So we needed to make a shift in some of our language because it was causing us a lot of confusion and difficulty in hiring. Again, so why change the plan? We really want to focus on service, not location. We really need to focus on teacher certification. Again, not your issue, that's ours. But we have to do it for your kids. Preschool, we are working really hard. We're not necessarily differentiating between large group and small group. What we're working on overall is to get our preschool ratios down to 70% of typical peers and 30% of students with IEPs across the board. Again, gonna take some time. Can't do it overnight. Caseload monitoring is another huge piece of the service delivery plan. Again, doesn't necessarily impact you as teachers, but that's how do we make sure we're not overwhelming our special education teachers and putting 30 kids on a roster and saying, go forth and conquer. Provide them the best service you can. We know you have too many kids. So we tried to work really hard to put in place a system where we looked at what really does impact a teacher's caseload and not some of the stuff that a lot of people have on their caseload monitoring form that doesn't really impact the teacher's workload. There are some things that paras do in the classroom that doesn't necessarily impact the teacher's workload. There are some things that we have in the caseload monitoring plan right now that we have ourselves in a bit of a catch-22. One way that we can support a teacher is by adding paras. Adding paras sometimes tend to increase teachers' workload because you have to schedule a para, you have to tell them what they need to do, you have to put out lesson plans for them. So how you support a teacher can also add to the teacher's workload. So that's just, there's never going to be a perfect caseload monitoring form, but we continue to try and continue to try to work through the issues that impact the teachers and make sure that we are providing enough support to meet the needs of your students. We try to work through those on an individual case-by-case basis. So, for you, what does this mean or not mean? Your students are going to continue to get the same quality special education services that they have. We are not forcing any change on anybody. We are not forcing anybody to stay in buildings that they don't need to stay in. We are not providing any services from non-qualified teachers. I say this because I have heard rumors and rumblings out there, and I just want to put everybody at ease, okay? So we're going to focus on providing services to students in the least restrictive environment. Least restrictive environment to your student is specific to your student. The least restrictive environment is not always the general education classroom. The least restrictive environment is not always the neighborhood school. We hope it is. Hopefully someday we'll get there. Right now, we have to transport some kids to different schools. We're going to work on it. I'll tell you how here shortly. But I don't want anybody in this room to ever think that the least restrictive environment is always the general education setting. We have to force kids to be in there. No, we don't. Okay? The least restrictive environment is individualized to what your student needs. Okay? We are going to examine where our services because this is kind of specific to our strategist 2 teachers. Again, that goes back to teacher licensure. Where those teachers are compared to where the needs of our students are. So, if I have 8 students residing in an elementary building who really need alternate assessment, but I'm shipping 8 kids out of that building, the question that has to come to me is, why on earth am I doing that? Why don't I have a teacher in that building providing those services? Those are the questions we're dealing with right now. That's the information we're looking at. So the conversations we're having right now is, oh my goodness, look at the population of kids we have. They really need this service. Is there any way that we can get this group of kids to stay in their neighborhood building? I can tell you what's going to slow us down on this process. A, whether or not we have the facilities that can accommodate some of the needs of our students. B, whether or not we can find appropriately licensed teachers to fill the positions. Otherwise, we will be forced to have to continue to bus students. Okay, those are the things that we have to look at. That's why I said we have some things that we can improve on. We can't do it overnight. Which brings me to the next bullet. We're going to make some changes, but they're going to be over time. We will continue to provide highly qualified teachers. That's why we're not coming here tonight to tell you, by the way, next year every student's going to remain in their boundary building. Not if I can't provide services there. Okay. So what does this not mean? We are not automatically moving all students back to their boundary buildings. A, it would be unethical if I cannot provide appropriate services to your student there. B, I've actually heard this. We are not discontinuing special education services. We are just trying to get better and more efficient at it. And we're not changing everything we're doing. We are going to continue to provide every service we have been. Again, we're just trying to get more efficient at providing it in the least restrictive environment for your student. And we are going to continue to try to do that in the neighborhood school as much as we possibly can. So when we wrote the original service delivery plan, we had a proposed timeline that we put together. So I just want to let you know where we're at in the timeline. So we are in the school year 1920. Students who need services from a Strategist 1 certified teacher, which is most of the students in the district, will remain in their boundary school. We have no reason that we need to move those students, because the teachers that we have in the buildings are certified to teach them. Parent meetings will be held to discuss the delivery plan. Welcome to the parent meeting. Teacher training will be held for IEP writing. We have done this. We have had a retired AEA consultant provide IEP training for our teachers. We have had conversations about how we're going to continue that. There was a component of that IEP training where we offered time for teachers to come in and have coaching on their IEP writing. They really found that beneficial. So we're going to talk about how we can continue that. And the fourth one is the piece that I've been telling you we've been looking at and think we can get a little bit more efficient and better at for your students, is we're reviewing that. Where do your students sleep versus where do they attend? That's the fourth piece that we're looking at this year. The district will review domicile buildings for students who require significant supports. That Foundations 1, 2, 3 Encompass programming. And make sure we have our classroom settings in the right locations, that we're matching them up with where our students are. For next year then, students who have been transported to a different building, or what we had formerly been calling Foundations 4, can return to their boundary building. I'm not going to force anybody back to their building, because in many cases students have become established, they've got friends. But the teachers in their neighborhood building are certified to teach that group of kids, unless they are alternately assessed. Okay? Teachers of students with significant cognitive disabilities, those students who are alternately assessed, are going to be provided some flexibility when grouping for instruction. By this I mean, if I have Mrs. Jones who's teaching across the hall from Mrs. Smith, but Johnny in Mrs. Jones's classroom really fits well with Mrs. Smith's math group, let them go over. Right now we've been very, very isolated in, nope, this group of kids doesn't cross the hall and go with this group of kids. No, let's communicate. Where are they going to get the best education? And how can we provide the best services for all of our kids? So we're going to provide a little bit of flexibility there. And then we're going to plan for the potential move or addition of programs for students who require those significant supports. That bullet number 4 that we're doing this year. We're going to plan for those moves so that by 21-22, we're ready for them. Hopefully we've got the staffing that we need, we've got the rooms identified, and we're ready to go. And you're ready to go if your student is impacted. Again, we're not making any sudden changes. We want everybody to know what's going on. Okay, so that's the service delivery plan. We're not making any major changes. Everybody can breathe a sigh of relief. Now, more good news. And this really is good. Changes coming from the Department of Ed. Many of you, when you walk into an IEP meeting, are going to see some of your teachers put up the current web IEP up on a screen, or you get a draft of it given to you on the table. You've got your lettered, because we don't have numbered IEPs, we have lettered IEPs. You've got your page A, B, your goal pages, page F, page G, page I if you're taking notes, page R if it's a reeval year, and just put that information right in yourself. And it may ask you some questions. It's supposed to, it's still in development, provide some prompts for you. It looks like you answered this way. Have you thought about this? Okay? It sounds great, and I'm excited. If it were to be done this summer, it'd be awesome. But we are expecting training on this new system in June of 2021. And it is called Achieve. So if you start hearing speak of the Achieve system, that is what is going to replace the current Web IEP. Okay? The second thing that the state is working on, and I don't know how geeky some of you are, but we operate from a statewide IEP procedures manual. It is a lovely document of about 640 pages. I tend to go to it frequently. However, that guidance manual, you really have to understand special ed to know what you're looking for when you go to the manual. If you don't know what you're looking for, it's going to be hard for you to find it in the manual. So for parents, if you don't really have a background in special education, it's really not useful to you. So, to provide a better resource for parents, they are establishing what is called I3. It stands for Iowa IDEA Information. That's the 3 I's. Catchy. This is also web-based and interactive. So it will be searchable. You can type in a question, you can type in a term, and it will bring up what you're looking for. There will be sections in there. It's split up by like school age. So if you have a student who has an IEP, there's a section for that. If you have a preschooler, there's a section for IFSPs as well. So if you've got a younger student who has special needs, there's going to be a section for questions there too. There will be a resource section that will provide links to a variety of different documents from the Department of Education. And they'll take you right to them. I don't know how many of you are Department of Education fans, but if you search on that website, there's a lovely A to Z index. But again, you have to kind of know what you're looking for. But it's there. This should be more of a direct route for you and much more friendly. And pretty. It's actually kind of pretty. This new system will be done before Achieve, but I don't have a specific date for you. It will be before June of 2021. So as I get more information, we'll try to push that out to you as parents so you have that information and can start utilizing those new tools. Okay? Now, I need your help. Sometimes I feel as though, as educators, we have to have IEP meetings annually. We have to have so many people in attendance. These are required members of an IEP meeting. And as parents, you are automatically outnumbered when you walk into an IEP meeting because of the people we are required to have there. And then we start flashing educational jargon at you because it's what we do. And it's not very friendly. So, in an effort to try to give additional information to you, similar to what I'm trying to do tonight, I want to know what information you guys want more of. As I, just kind of sit there and think, transition is huge for a lot of families. As kids prepare for high school and what's beyond high school, There is a lot of information about transition that we could share with parents. Who do you call? What's out there? Who are the major contact people that you need to know about? Why is it so important? You know, sometimes when kids come in as freshmen, they're like, oh, they don't know what they want to do. For us, that maps their high school. That lets us know what courses we need to get them signed up for. That lets us know whether or not we need to get signed up with folk rehab. That helps us kind of map out what resources and links we need to get going. Because time flies. It goes fast. And we want to get your kids ready for what's coming next. Whether they're going into employment, they're going to community college, whether they're going to a 4-year college, whether they're going to the military, we want to know so we can help them be successful. So the more information we have and the more information we can help you gather, the better off we're all going to be. Another one, every meeting you come to, we flap that parental rights booklet in front of you and say, any questions? Right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Most of you go, no, I got enough of those wallpaper on my walls. But do you really understand what's in there? Because there's a lot in there. And a lot that I think we could, you know, if we have a just night where we could sit down and talk about it and bring a parent advocate in and sit down and talk you through what's really in there, I think it would be very beneficial for you. Another topic that, you know, comes to mind is all of a sudden your student is identified as an eligible individual and we say, oh, we got to write an IEP. What is that? And then we start throwing all these papers and forms at you. Anybody really talk to you about what that means? What's the A page? What's the B page? What's a goal? Why do we set up graphs? F page, G page. I think we can make great partners if we understand what all of that stuff actually means and what an IEP team means when we all gather around the table and we're working towards the same thing. But without understanding what all the terms what the terms are and what the acronyms mean, you guys are just coming in and going, yep, whatever. And we can do a whole lot more to educate. So what I want you to think about, and you have note cards on the table, if we were to have just topic sessions and bring people in or just have a conversation about, what does this mean? I've been thinking about, and I really want more information about, what would those things be? Because we'd like to help get you information about the things you have questions about. I just want you to ponder for a couple of minutes, jot some ideas down, just leave them on the table, and I'll pick them up before you leave. If you have any students, any questions for me, my contact information is right there. I'll take questions in just a minute, Dan. Student-specific questions, again, please jot down your question and your contact information on a note card. I don't want to address student-specific information in this forum, but we'll happy to do so privately. And as always, summarizing our mission statement, believe, achieve, and succeed every one of our students.